So I woke up about 2 hours ago to receive a video in my inbox from another fellow YouTuber who made a video addressing me. If you haven't seen one of my latest videos known as What Happened to the Christian Me, it's my last video I just made. He took a part of my video where I said that atheists tend to be very dogmatic, or that atheists on YouTube are, for the majority, very stupid. And I'm going to be addressing that and clarifying what exactly I mean. But most of all, I'm going to be arguing two different points in this, is that atheism, or any position, can be in fact dogmatic, and the misconception among many atheists, including the atheist you're about to see here, that someone who is religious is automatically mentally ill. So with that said, please watch this video. All the videos that are being used in this video are going to be linked down below in the description, so please expand the description, check them out, subscribe to them, and if you watch their videos so you can understand exactly what I'm addressing here.
Now, Daniel, here comes the part you're probably expecting. Now, I'm going to do this in a very positive matter, okay? I disagree with you when it comes to the atheist comments, okay? Majority of the anti-theists out there, atheists, agnostics out there, or just the secular community in general, are doing something positive for mankind, for humanity, for our society. We're doing something positive. We basically say, or at least majority of us say, that the idea of religion is bad for society. It shouldn't be. Their moral values should not be pushed into education, politics, and so on. They have their right and their freedoms to practice their religion. They have that, okay? I'll give them that. But when it comes to pushing into society and education and hindering the advancement of society and humanity, that's what I fight against, okay? And the majority of atheists out there, or the secular community, that's what they do. They do it in a positive way. Some come off more, not rebellious, but they come off more militant than others, okay, which I agree to a certain point, but when you start attacking certain people due to the religious beliefs, that's where I draw the line. Like I say, I'm against the idea of religion, not the person, because either you were indoctrinated or people were just in a low in their life, they were drug addicts, alcoholics, and they were just saved, okay? The mind's weak. The mind is very weak when it comes to religion. When people are indoctrinated into religion, the mind's weak. Kids have blank slates. When you're in the low in your life, you're very weak-minded. Okay, that's why religion, in my viewpoint, is a psychological disorder. Okay, it just hinders the advancement of humanity.
I'm going to have to stop you right here and say how very wrong you are. In fact, anytime I hear this from an atheist, it usually gets my hairs on edge, because this could not be more wrong. But the problem with your statement here is that someone who's religious has a psychological disorder is that you are stereotyping all mentally ill people. Stereotypes, for the most part, I don't like. And the fact that you have the veracity to actually say that people who are religious have a psychological disorder shows to me, and I'm not saying this to be insulting or mean, shows to me that you have a very, very limited understanding of mentally ill people or mental illnesses. I happen to have an aunt who's dead now, but was mentally ill. She was gang raped by 3 men. She was deaf and could not speak. She had a mental illness. I remember watching her and trying to talk to her in ASL, American Sign Language, before she died in her deathbed. But she was in fact mentally ill. And the fact that you make this statement that anyone who's religious has a psychological disorder is very troublesome to me. And it's actually one of the problems I have with a lot of atheists here on YouTube. When I refer to YouTube atheists, these are the type of statements, or atheists, in which I'm referring to. Atheists who try to use or disregard a religious person using a straw man fallacy by saying that whether the argument's debating about God or religion or whatever, they just disregard them and say, you're mentally ill. Religion is a disease, and you, by definition, have a mental, psychological illness, and therefore anything you say is discredited. This is a very, very wrong approach, and as I said earlier, it's completely stereotypes all mental illness, and it shows to me that you don't have much knowledge on the topic of mental illness of people. for you to say a statement like this. And it also, I don't want to say it offends me, but it really upsets me, especially the fact that you're labeling my own parents, who are Christians, and who I love and care for very much, and who I respect very much, and you're calling them with a psychological disorder because of them being religious. And to me, this is wrong, and it's the evil position to hold. That said, I have 2 real disorders. As I mentioned in my video, I have an anxiety and depressive disorder. And for you just to say that being religious is a disorder, I'm sorry, but that's wrong. You're the same type of atheist. Actually, I could be labeling you here, I don't know. But from your statement, you're saying the exact same thing a prominently known atheist, I think he's an atheist, known as Bill, is his name Bill Murray? He says this.
You know, as if they have the moral high ground. Please, I'm a Christian, so I've got the high ground here. You know, they think that's what I'm hearing. They think I'm hearing I'm a better person. But really what I'm hearing is you have a neurological disorder. And
Christians have a neurological disorder. How ignorant can that statement be? That all Christians have a neurological disorder? This does not cognitive abilities and disorders does not come into play with someone being religious. I would understand if you said that these people, religious people, were ignorant. I'd understand, and I could agree with you to an extent if you said they were ignorant. But to say that it's a disorder and they're mentally ill is wrong. And I really don't appreciate you or any atheist who labels people like this. I mean, I know of many other atheists on YouTube who say these same types of things, and it's wrong. And I'm sorry for repeating myself, but I'm just saying it's wrong for you to say that.
All right, we could do without that, okay? If we did not have religion in general, society would be so much far advanced, in my opinion.
This to me is, I think, a misconception that a lot of atheists hold, that without religion, we would therefore be our society would be flourishing, we'd have more resources, more technology, that religion is like the cause of the human race decreasing in intelligence. And while I could maybe agree to an extent that not a whole lot of religious people are intelligent, some are, but a lot of people who just sit in church and, you know, accept everything they hear are not. But I'd like to share with you a quick clip by a very intelligent YouTuber known as Awesome Rants, and she said this very truth statements regarding religion.
It's always been my perspective that a world without religion would be the same. That's because religions are ideologies. They're religious ideologies or philosophical ideologies. People cling so vehemently to ideologies because they're propagated in a way that makes it seem like if everyone functioned according to the principles of that ideology, the world would be perfect, or at least better. Another reason why people cling to ideologies is because of how desperate they are for a better world or a better life. And religions are no different. It's my view that if ideologies weren't propagated the way that they are, and if people weren't so desperate, and if they were able to slow down their thought process in order to think clearly, the world would be a better place. Regardless, I think that that's highly unlikely, and rather than sitting around waiting for that to happen, I just try to prevent myself from giving in to ideologies that are propagated in a way that attracts simple minds.
I don't think it'd be a utopia. I do think it'd be better. I do think there'd be fewer people trying to shove their morality down my throat, trying to tell me how to live my life regardless of what I want.
That's not true. There would be. New ideologies would come about, and the followers of these schools of thought would force the principles of their preferred ideology down your throat. So people would still be doing that.
So that's why I do what I do, and I also do it to help people that are deconverting, because I know how much pain a person could go through when they deconvert. Okay, I've witnessed the things my wife went through when it comes to deconversion. I can see that you're hurt in some of your videos when it comes to deconverting. Now, at the end of your video, the last clip I'm going to play here, you are a little pissed off, okay? And this is what it feels like to an atheist when they fight against religious dogma. This is exactly what they look like, okay? So I just want to make sure you realize that the way you act in the end of your video, is how a lot of atheists act, because you know what? They're so perturbed, just so pissed off at the religious dogma that is so detrimental to society. It just hinders it. It hinders the advancements. And that's what we're against, man. And so hopefully that's where you're at, I believe. You know, so you could take this with a grain of salt. I don't care, but I appreciate your viewpoints. I respect your viewpoints. I respect your opinions. I think you're on a good path. I think you're a good person. So that's all I really got to say here.
So please, to you Christians out there, how does Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, the plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future, how does that come into play with the experiences I have went through in my life? I don't understand it. And I'm not mad, I'm getting worked up. Because it pisses me off, it genuinely does. Or you know the best phrase from Christians I get. Daniel, God's just testing you. Everything that's happened in your life, it's a test. Well, if the God of the Bible used molestation to test me, my middle finger goes up to him. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry if you feel that I'm disrespecting the God of the Bible because of that. But if you have the veracity to say to me that it was a test, I can't say go to hell, that doesn't make sense, I don't believe in hell. I don't even know how to end the video, I'll just leave it at that. So, please, think about that question, the Christians who are watching this video.
Now, in conclusion, Daniel, maybe you understand why some atheists act the way they do. It's in a positive matter, it's not negative, okay? Christians will see it as negative. Maybe you still see it as negative, but now you understand why we do what we do, okay? We're trying to fight the good fight. We're trying to push religion out of society in general when it comes to education, politics, civil rights, human rights, individual rights. Just like the anti-abortion issue, it should be a woman's individual right to get an abortion or take a contraceptive. It's their right. It's their body. They can do whatever they want. Religion should have no say in it. Same with civil rights when it comes to the gay issue. It has no right in society. No moral, biblical viewpoint should be pushed into society to make that decision. Okay, that's why we have the Establishment Clause in our First Amendment. All right. So no, that's why we do what we do, Daniel. We do it in a positive manner, even though the religious or the right-wing conservative Christians, they don't see it that way, or liberal Christians, doesn't even matter what side of the spectrum, just Christians in general, or religious people in general, don't agree with our viewpoint.
Live life, it's not a matter of me disagreeing with your viewpoint, it's a matter of me disagreeing with your methods. Or I shouldn't say your methods specifically, but a lot of atheist methods here on YouTube. And this is where I mentioned, this is where I want to talk a little bit about dogma. A lot of atheists on my last video said that atheists cannot be dogmatic. And I wholeheartedly 100% disagree. In fact, I should probably make a video dedicated to going into the specifics of what dogma entails. But I just like to say that any person can be dogmatic. Whether it's a feminist, whether it's agnostic, skeptic, Christian, atheist, you can in fact be dogmatic. Now, normally when the word dogma is thrown, it usually pertains to religion. But I'm going to argue that it doesn't. Dogma enscopes anything. Any position you hold, you can be dogmatic about it. That no matter, that your way is the right way. And I have ran into atheists who are just as bad as the religious fundamentalists who try to force their Christianity or religion down people's throats. I've met atheists exactly the same who try to force their atheism. I've had it on my videos. I mean, I have 400 videos. I get comments every day. I've had atheists argue and try to force their try to force their atheism onto me by saying that their atheism is correct, that their atheism is the right way, that their atheism is the only position to hold. There is a such thing as dogmatic atheists, and atheists can try to sugarcoat it as much as they want and try to disregard the fact that an atheist can't be dogmatic because their atheism is a lack of belief in God. Atheism may be a lack of belief in God, but they can still be dogmatic about the positions or things that they believe, whether it's morality or how the world came to be or religion. Atheists can be dogmatic. Anyone can be dogmatic. And I oppose dogmatism, whether it's Christian or atheism. Dogmatism to me is a bad thing. And I think dogmatism can be very, very narrow-minded on both sides of the spectrum. I'm not siding with Christians and I'm not siding with atheists. I'm looking at both sides equally because I've been involved with both sides equally. I've discussed with both sides equally, so therefore I feel as if I'm able to speak on what is dogmatism and how it pertains to atheism and religion. And the other crazy thing is that I've met atheists who hold the position that they are therefore more intelligent and superior to other people who are religious. But then again, I've met religious people who think that they're more, who are more intelligent and more superior than atheists, you know? It's just crazy how, you know, one side will say, oh, Christians are all superior and try to act more moral than others, and then there are atheists who try to say the same exact thing as Christians do. It's just in a different context. One's an atheist, one's a theist, one's religious, one's not religious, but they still spew the same types of ideologies or viewpoints or perspectives in the same forceful manners.
But guess what? It's the positive viewpoint. We're trying to push humanity forward. We're trying to push our society forward. We don't need to live in Bronze Age mythology to get to that point, okay? That's what we fight against, okay? So I think I'll leave it at that, Daniel, but we do this in a positive way.
Something that really bothers me about your video to me is that you keep saying that we're all about the positive, that we atheists are all about bringing a positive message, and I disagree. As earlier in your video, your stereotype of mentally ill people, that's not positive, that's negative. In fact, I think that's detrimental to society to hold a stereotype that anyone who's religious automatically has a mental disorder or neurological deficiency. I mean, that's a negative aspect in my opinion. That's a negative position to hold. And unless I'm misrepresenting you, but I'm taking what you said in your video that religious people have a psychological disorder, that's a negative thing. And to label everybody as that, I mean, you can make the video and say that it's all about you bringing a positive message to YouTube and about, you know, it's all about getting religion out of the way and being positive about it, but I disagree. There's a lot of negative things that atheists do, and I'm not going to sit here and defend atheists and say that everything they do is positive and how their methods are positive. In fact, it's really the methods I have with atheists, not necessarily the messages they're bringing or trying to educate people with. It's the methods on how they process that and how to force it on and try to force it on other people.
Okay, we try to do the best we can. We want society to come together in general and use a universal or rational morality. The same morality we had before any religion came along. Okay? So hopefully that helps. Please feel free to comment on this video. And hang in there, man. You're doing good. So
to live life, I want to say that I appreciate your video response to me. However, I do want to make it clear that I do agree with you on several of your points in your video. For the main point of, you know, religion shouldn't take place in politics, shouldn't place in school, you know, civil rights. I agree with you on those points. But it really bothered me in your video where you try to sugarcoat the idea that everything atheists do is positive, and that then the other issue which I've mentioned. I apologize for repeating myself, but it's just something I do automatically, and is about the mentally ill people, religious and psychological disorders, or someone who believes in religion or who is religious. To me, that's a dangerous position to hold, and I just want to ask to try to make you think about the position that you hold regarding religious people being mentally ill, because yeah, I don't even really know how else to say it without repeating myself over and over again, but that's just evil and a gross stereotype of all mentally ill people. And I ask you to think about that position that you hold. I really don't like seeing you as a YouTuber hold the same views as other YouTubers. It just concerns me when I see people who hold that view. So, thank you for your video response, and I'd like to end the video with another user who I'm using a clip from. This is his full video. It's only about 2.5 minutes long, and the video is down below in the link in the description if you'd like to check that out. But I just want to end it with this video. It's pretty good. So hopefully people watching this will be understanding what he's talking about. So thank you for watching.
It's been said, we've exhausted the mainstream vocabulary's ability to comment on the subject, both textual and conceptual, and we did it very, very early. I'm not saying there's nothing more to be said. I'm saying that, for the most part, we have nothing more to say. And those who do, we ignore because they have something more to say. Part of that limitation is drawn from the ways that both sides of the debate are more or less the same. The same epistemology, the same rhetoric, and in both cases, a horribly Gnostic approach, sans the mystical romanticism. Yeah, all sizzle, no steak. Now, hold up, think about it. Even the conversion testimonials are the same. I was a scum-sucking atheist or a delusional, irrational theist, and note that both sides are bringing out their big guns right up front. But then I encountered the experience, which brought me to the knowledge, and now I know everything I need to know in order to govern my life. And most of the time, these stories are pure fiction. In classic storyteller tradition, you take a good story, one that's been done before, one that you know your audience will respond well to, recast yourself as the main character, put enough self-denigration into the story that you're still relatable, and then end with a bang that you know they already agree with. They aren't even particularly inventive stories. There may be a lot of us, a lot of ourselves, who we are, who we think we are, who we want other people to think we are, in our religious views or lack thereof. But there's very, very little of us in the debate. On all sides, we're striving for that stamp of objective approval, and that means that there can't be very much of us. The moment you circumscribe a subject to omit most of the knowledge, most of the experience, most personhood of the people involved, you've set up a subject on which we can say very little. But we say it emphatically. That emphasis driven by the importance of all the things we're not allowed to talk about in the debate. Most days I just find it boring, but bad days? Infuriating.